Everything you're about to hear is for entertainment purposes only. Listen, have some fun, but don't ever do, believe, or promote anything they say. They're idiots.
Guys, hold up. You should know, this ain't for everybody. Welcome to Savagely Loud. What's happening, people? Guys, welcome back to the show for the people that understand that facts divided by feelings equals failure. I'm Cliff, I'm your host, and typically now is when I would let you know that Big Dave Anderson, the Viking, my co-host, is with me, but unfortunately he got stuck at work on a late shift today, so it's just me. I do have a special guest with me, but before we get to him, if you want to help me out, get these words out, get these truths out, you can follow me on social media, on Instagram, particularly at Savagely Loud is where I'm most active. On that page, you're going to find two links. One of those links is to the Savagely Loud podcast page. If you could please follow me there too, it'd be greatly appreciated, as that will inevitably be my backup page. The other link you're going to find is a simple link tree. Anywhere you want to see my bullshit or hear my rants, you can find it there, easy peasy. Outside of that, Facebook, X, and Rumble at Savagely Loud, YouTube at Savagely Loud Podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe. And you can email me in at savagelyloud@gmail.com. And I strongly suggest you do, because there's a lot of people pissing and moaning in the comment sections that I messaged you, and you're not responding. Well, because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fucking messages in my message box that I'm just probably not going to get to. So email me in. I'm guaranteed to see your communication. Last but not least, don't forget to like, comment, and share the material. If you really want to do a solid, don't forget to rate and review the show. It really does help break us into the algorithm and get us out there, get these words out there, get these truths out there, and start waking up all these other motherfuckers. That all being said, I said that I had a special guest with me today. You will know him as the AV Report. I know him as Cody. How we doing today, brother?
You know, I'm living the dream. Y'all can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all at the AV Report. It stands for the Always Victorious Report, because I can't lose with Jesus on my side. Let's get into it, Savagely Loud. Let's do this shit.
That's the first time I got an intro on my own show. That's amazing. And you busted out with what, AV Report? Because I was going to hit on that, like, this can't possibly be the audiovisual report.
No, always victorious. Because if we get in a debate, I can't lose. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how to lose. No,
I don't know how to lose well. I do it, but I don't know how to do it well.
I just don't believe it. Even if the comments say I lost the debate, I don't believe it.
That's what we call cognitive dissonance, and it helps us stay alive. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, you know, I've seen you online, and I've watched you for a while before I ever reached out. And you're an incredibly unique person, right? So you caught me on a video. Like, we all know I talk about race and culture a lot. And you were talking about a racial cultural incident that had happened, and I was just like, man, the way this dude's talking about this, like, I got to talk to this dude. Like, I got to watch this dude, but I'm definitely going to have to talk to this dude, because you've got a different approach. You know, a lot of people, they come out and they have their special approaches, you know, air quotes, but yours is it's just natural. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get the fucking vibe from watching your content that you're just putting on this gigantic act, and this is a persona or a character that you've created for the lens, for the followers. You know, I truly liked the authenticity that you provide your following, and that's what hooked me. So what, I gotta ask, what the hell got you started, man?
Oh wait, my mic or my monitor literally just shut off. 1 second.
Oh yeah, don't worry, because every show of mine, this is a known thing. It seems
okay,
like
I got it. So yeah, what started it all for me is I was actually a super liberal, super leftist, and I was in college. I was getting my associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and I wanted to be a teacher. And I just went through a lot of different things that just made me realize, you know, things aren't right here in America. And one of those things that happened to me was I was a teacher in Kansas City, and I was in a meeting where a a person came in and was pretty much telling all the white teachers to go out and find their replacement. That they said that we needed to go out and find black people to go teach our black students because they understood their culture more than we did. And I felt this, like, all the other people were like shaking their head and smiling and like thinking that this was cool. And I'm just like, I've been in school. I've been doing this for 6 years. I've been working my ass off, and you're telling me to go find my replacement all because of my skin color. And that was like the point where I was just like, I'm done with like apologizing for who I am. And that was like my full tipping point. But other than that, I mean, like little pieces in college when like they were saying like you got to be, sorry for being white, had like this white guilt because your ancestors did slavery and all these different things. I slowly lost my liberalism. I slowly lost my leftism because I was sick and tired of being called a villain for no reason. Even when I was trying to be nice to people, they would say, "Oh, it's just a show. It's fake. It's not good enough. It's not good enough to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. You have to hate your skin color. You have to hate yourself. You have to get on your knees and beg for our forgiveness." And after just years and years of just like listening to this bullshit, and even being in the school system where, they just constantly even like tried to make me teach anti-white rhetoric, I just was just like, I'm done with this bullshit. Yeah, I mean, that's how it all started. It all started with me being a super woke liberal because what was it, back in 2012? Whenever Bernie was, I was a Bernie bro.
Okay.
And I wanted people to vote for Bernie. I was like a socialist. I was all into that. And then I slowly but surely morphed into MAGA. And then I slowly morphed into America First. So yeah, that's my story in like a neat nutshell.
I noticed that seems to be a trend amongst the people that I talk to a lot. Is it seems like most of the people I've actually talked to started out like super hard left and just slowly started waking up to the bullshit. Like as they got older, their eyes became a little bit clearer. Their vision, of the world, not necessarily just through their eyes, but their vision of the world started altering, started changing and shifting. And, it seems like inevitably y'all got to a place where you're like, okay, not only can I not deal with this, I'm looking at, I can't deal with this in the rearview mirror. Now I have to do something about it. And it seems to be an ongoing trend that, people like the woke wake up, and eventually you're just like, holy shit, I can't look at this anymore and not do anything about it. I can't look at it anymore, turn a blind eye or do what I say. Like I always say, people don't believe the truth. People believe whatever they have to believe in order to make what they currently believe into the truth. And you get to a point where you just can't do that anymore. Let me ask you how, because this is one of my favorite parts of the awakening of people like you in the best ways. What was that like? The moment, that epiphanatic moment where you're like, I'm different now.
It was just when I just became unapologetic. I was just sick and tired of just people trying to make me feel bad for my skin color or being born European, being born a white guy. It's like, I'm not going to apologize for something I never did. And I was just sick and tired of the double standard because everyone always wants to act like white people are the only people that have done wars, conquest, slavery. And it's like, hold the fuck on. Have you guys never heard of the Arab slave trade? Have you guys never heard of any other wars, any other conquerors, Genghis Khan? Like, white people aren't the only people that have done bad shit. So I believe it was back in where I just, what'd you call it? Not woke, but awakened.
Yeah.
Like I was woke and then I became awakened.
Yep.
AV. I would probably say it was, because I quit teaching, I would say it was 2022 or 2023, like when I had to quit, because I realized I ended up quitting my teaching job because I realized the liberals and the leftists have infected our schools with their ideals, so badly that you can't even have discipline in our schools anymore. And the kids were able to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, treated me and other teachers however they wanted. And we pretty much had to put up with it because we were the quote unquote colonizer. And that's what I was called all the time. I would have students walk up to me and they'd be like, "Oh, you look like a Donald Trump supporter. You look like a colonizer." Like they would like call me Christopher Columbus and like call me different names. And like I would always try to talk to my administrators and be like, "Are we ever going to do anything about this?" There'd always be constantly fights, them bringing knives, drugs. And I'm just like, "Are we ever going to do anything about this?" And they're like, "You just don't understand their culture, okay? You just need to look at it from their lens. They would always say, "You're looking at it from a point of privilege because you're white." And I just got sick and tired of that shit. I'm just like, listen, I can't even teach because we got motherfuckers over here blaring music, cussing, trying to twerk and dance. And I'm trying to teach history. And I'm just like, I can't take this shit anymore. So that's when I fully awakened and was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with the education system because it's been eaten by the left. Everything the left touches, everything communism touches, everything the left touches, it destroys. And any self-respecting white man or any self-respecting person could not be a leftist because it's a defeatist mindset and it destroys civilizations. So all I got to say is we need to wake the fuck up, quit apologizing, and restore order in America.
Yeah.
Or you're going to keep having people quit teaching like I did. Because let me tell you one thing. 14 new teachers started that year. 13 left at the end of that year. And the only one that stayed was because they had to, because they had one more semester of graduate school. That should tell you everything you need to know about the leftist disease, the woke mind virus. So awaken, don't be woke. Awaken, everybody.
Yeah, that's yeah. I love that story because I have believed my entire life. I've never been a leftist. I've never been woke. I've never been all that shit. I was a skinhead, growing up from when I was a fucking preteen, almost a preteen, all the way through my teens and into my 20s and this and that. But I've always believed that teachers are the number one public fucking enemy. Teachers are the fucking reason that this country looks like it does. Everybody wants to blame the politicians. They want to blame the parents. They want to blame the kids. They want to blame the employers. They want to blame billionaires. They want to blame all these people, but nobody wants to blame the fucking teachers. But I always thought it was fucked up how we never blame the teachers when everything goes wrong. But for every single thing that goes right, oh, we need to thank a teacher. No, we fucking don't. No, we fucking don't. Teachers are the scum of the fucking earth because here's the other thing. It's like cops, right? People say, well, there's more good cops than bad cops. And I always like to say, okay, well, let's figure out what makes a bad cop. If you're a cop in a precinct and there's some negative shit, some bad shit going on in that precinct, if you're not taking part of it, does that make you a good cop? And people always say, well, yeah, if you're not taking part, then you're a good cop. Well, it's going on and you're not doing anything about it, which means you're complicit. Are you still a good cop? That's how I look at teachers. Teachers when you corner a teacher, which I've done a lot of times, when you corner a teacher, they always say, well, I have to because it's the system. No, you can fucking stand up against the system. You say everything you do is for the kids. We'll forego the idea that you just strike out of nowhere for money and then the kids don't go to school, blah, 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 blah. But you do say everything you do is for the kids. So why not form a coalition within the school district of teachers and say, no, we're fucking done. And all it's going to take is one district to do that. And then all of the other districts, I promise you, it will ripple effect out into everything else. But I love what you did is because you actually did take that stand. You're like, nope, I can't take part in this.
Well, the truth is we need total reform because the whole thing is corrupt. Especially when you just look at it from the administration perspective, because the administration gives you permission what you can teach. So yeah, I do cut the teachers a little bit of slack because you have to give the administration your lesson plan every week, like the week prior, because I had to create lesson plans a week in advance. And they would say, well, you can't teach this. Well, you could teach this. Well, you need to tweak this. and they would try to modify it to their way of teaching. So even if I wanted to teach more conservatively or teach, what I would want to teach, they want it through their, how would they say it, a culturally diverse lens. They'd want it through their Marxist communist lens. And if you didn't put it through that, you are on the hot seat of losing your job. And the problem is a lot of people are afraid to lose that check. A lot of people are afraid to lose that security, the medical benefits, the dental, all this stuff, because they have a family that is relying on them at home. So a lot of them say, well, shit, I guess I got to teach this shit, because if I don't, I lose this job that I've been, at school for 6-8 years. Because what are you saying pretty much? That if you stand on your morals, if you stand on your quote unquote business, as a lot of people like to say, standing on business, you give up 8 years of school. You give up 8 years of your fucking life to just say, I'm not teaching this. And then guess what your administrators say? You're fired. And then all that you did is up in smoke. So a lot of teachers can't make the decision that I did, because at the time I didn't have a huge family. It was just me. So I do give them a little grace, but I do understand, like, when they go above and beyond, they do the communism, the trans stuff, they do all this crazy shit, the gender ideology, then I have a problem. But sometimes it does come from administration down to where they say, you pretty much have to teach this.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because a lot of teachers are literally handcuffed, and it's like, you either teach what we tell you to teach, or you're gone. You know what I mean?
Right. I get that.
And a lot of people can't lose that.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
I get that. And I do understand that, that certain things you've got to protect the meal ticket and whatever. But how long do we have to go through this? Like, how far gone does this have to get before people start being willing to sacrifice some shit? Like I know, like my wife, when COVID hit, and she worked at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and Cancer Treatment Centers of America says everybody's got to get this shot. And she goes, the fuck I do. She lost her whole career because she was not going to get that shot. And then they tried to hire her back after the fucking thing ended, came out that it was all bullshit. They tried to hire her back, and she's like, go fuck yourself. Like, there's no way. But here's the thing with teachers is, I understand that, some teachers are quote unquote handcuffed. I get that. But that's why I say it's going to take an entire district of teachers to stand together, because all it's going to take is one. If every teacher in the school walked into the fucking boardroom and said, we're done, we're not teaching this shit, you can fire us, but we're not going to fucking teach this shit. That school closes down. It's not going to, maybe those fucking teachers will lose their jobs, but they will have lost their jobs for something much more meaningful than, what they're actually doing is they're putting the future of this country in a back seat to their paycheck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just very hard, because a lot of the teachers, unfortunately, are so woke, indoctrinated, that it's going to be hard to get a collective of them, because those that are awake are ostracized, are shunned, and are pretty much handcuffed. And those that do work with the administrators benefit from the communist Marxist system, because it benefits them, because they get to benefit from that victim card. They get to benefit from all that funding, all that propaganda, because that's what it is. It's propaganda. So, I mean, how can you get a district together when there's, like, I would say, especially in my district, 80% of them benefit from this propaganda. They benefit from being the quote unquote victim. Why do you think you had someone like a Jesse Smollett who faked a fucking hate crime and said that this is a MAGA country, and said he was getting a Subway sandwich at 3 a.m., 5 a.m. when a Subway isn't even open then? It's like, because they benefit from this victim mentality, this victim class. And so it's going to be very hard to get a district of teachers together, because it's just so corrupt and so messed up, and so many of them benefit from this victim mentality. How do you defeat it? How?
Right. Wow. Especially because I know a teacher, I won't bust him out, but I do know a teacher. He was at least honest with me. We had that conversation, and he goes, look, dude, he's like, I make $79,000 a year to work half the year. you're not going to get me rid of, you're not going to have me get rid of that. It's just not going to happen. He's like, and then to touch on what you said earlier, then I got all these fucking benefits. I got all these perks, all these bonuses. If we get all this shit and we only work 179 days a year, you're not going to get me to fucking throw that away.
Right. I mean, was he working in a nice district or?
Middle class. Like I'd say probably dead center.
Yeah. All I can say is to the teachers working in the inner cities, I feel you, because that's where I worked. It's tough.
I bet you that's tough, especially as a fucking clean-cut white dude going into the fucking black schools. Like, I can only imagine. Like, I'm outside of Chicago, and I've been in Chicago during the school like entrance where all the kids are walking to school. I'm like, dude, there ain't a white kid for 2 miles of this fucking line, and then there's one white guy will walk in, or one white woman will walk in, because white women are always the one that want to save the black schools, so they'll walk in, and then it's like, oh man, they're gonna fucking eat you alive.
Liberal white women are the biggest problem in our society. They're the ones ruining our society. But yeah, I still remember on one of my parent-teacher conferences, I got yelled at by one of the parents because I told her son to have a seat because he was yelling the N-word and cussing with one of his friends, and he wouldn't stay seated. And I said, could you sit down? I'm trying to give a lecture. And he said, man, I ain't sitting down. He's like, I ain't going to listen to a white man tell me to sit down. And then I ended up going to the parent-teacher conference. I'm like, listen, your son doesn't listen. He doesn't do any of his work. He doesn't turn any of his homework. And she's like, listen, I'm going to tell him to do his work, but he's not going to listen to a white man. What did she say? She said, you're not going to tell my son to sit down. It's like, well, if he can't sit down, if he can't listen, he's not going to be in my class. Right. But the administrators were like, you just have to understand he's going through a rough time. You have to look at it through a culturally responsive lens and understand that's their culture. And if you're being aggressive, then they'll get aggressive back. And you have to just like offer him a McFlurry and be nice and just say, you know what? I know you're having a bad day, but let me get you a McDouble and let's talk about this. And then maybe you'll sit. And I'm like, fuck this. This kid is over here cussing, yelling the N-word and won't sit down and let me teach. And now I have his bitch of a mother pretty much telling me that my son don't have to listen to you because you white, you a colonizer. It's like, that's when I knew I was quitting. I'm like, fuck this job and fuck these administrators. I'm done.
Well, and that's what a lot of people don't want to understand about these fucking this black youth, especially. All this shit's learned. Mom and dad, because fucking dad's probably not in the house, considering they're making headway. It went from 74% of fatherless households in the inner cities to 70%, but there's still not a dad in the home. So mom's just teaching them that fucking white people hate them. Grandma's teaching Meemaw, whoever the fuck it is just teaching these kids that white people hate them. And there's no basis to it, no foundation, except alleviation of responsibility. And this is what I always say. If a black parent is teaching their black children that white people all around that kid hate them, it's because that motherfucker, that parent didn't do shit with their lives, and they have to make excuses now of why they didn't do anything with their lives, why they're fucking 46 years old and they're living on fucking link cards and WIC cards and SNAP benefits because they just chose not to get a fucking skill, because that's the world we live in. You chose not to do anything with your life, and now you have to alleviate the responsibility so you don't feel bad about yourself and you don't look bad to your kids by blaming on everybody else. And white people just so happen to be the easiest target now.
Well, it's not just the parents, it's the media, it's the movies, it's Facts. Everything. It's the journalists out there. Everything in our society is blamed on the white man. And I've been seeing this for years. And that's why slowly this is why I say this in a lot of my videos. My white guilt meter went from here back in like 2012 when I was a Bernie bro and woke to here when I became awakened. And I said, fuck this. Because every movie you turn on is talking about the oppressor, colonizer, white man and shitting on us. And you see some transgender doing some weird twerking shit on the Super Bowl and just shitting all over our culture. And I'm like, no, America needs to go back to what it was. And what it was wholesome, good shit.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I did a video about that the other day. It's like, on my social media, everywhere you fucking turn, everybody's talking about how proud they are to be an American. But here's the problem is if you ask 4 different people why they're proud to be an American, you're going to get 4 different answers. Back in the day, you got one fucking answers because America's fucking fantastic. Now you got these motherfuckers. These 2 guys over here only are proud to be American because they oppose the other 2 guys that are proud to be an American. There's no standard of operation anymore. There's no moral standard. There's no fucking, the bar is so low for behavior and public conduct. It's become a disgusting fucking place.
Well, there's no cohesive culture anymore because we stopped having cultural assimilation. We just said, oh, just come in here and you can have little China, little whatever, and you don't have to assimilate. Like, that's our biggest problem. We just have little enclaves everywhere, and people, like, look at the Somalians, and I believe in Minnesota, frauding the systems, and then you have these stupid Democrats defending them. You even had Trump ask the Democrats to stand up for Americans, and they stayed seated for the illegal aliens. The problem is we need to have a unified culture again. We need to have a unified belief system again. And if we do not have that, our culture and our society in America will crumble as we know it. And it's been crumbling since the 1950s. Ever since the 1950s, it has gotten worse and worse and worse. And if you look at the birth rates, we're not repopulating ourselves because the propaganda is making us fucking hate ourselves. And I'm just sick and tired of it. We need to be cohesive again. We need to have a vision again. We need to have the American dream again. And if we can't have that, America is doomed. So we need to have that vision again. And that's why I say America first. And if any politician, anybody is out there trying to run for president or senator or whatever, and they're not America first, you need to get the fuck out of this country because you need to know what America is about. And if you don't, or if you have no idea, then get out because you already should know what it's about.
Yeah, and I like I said all the time, I'm so fucking tired of brown people with accents telling me how I need to feel about America. I'm so fucking done. There is no unity. There's no cohesive, like you said, and I think that was a perfect statement. There's no unified cultural fucking standard that we can live by. Even in 1960s, after desegregation or while desegregation was happening, the black community was doing better than it ever had been before. But now that we let them just do whatever the fuck they want, it's that you give them an inch and they took 9 miles. And now we can't reel it back in because nobody's willing to be the bad dad. Nobody's willing to be the angry parent. Well,
and we incentivize the welfare state. So now black women don't need black men. So now you're having a lot of single black mothers having a whole bunch of kids growing up without a dad, and it's just this self-fulfilling bad cycle, and that's what's leading to all these bad things in these neighborhoods. That's why it's horrible. So again, it's just bad overall. And mind you, segregation was forced at gunpoint. That's all I'm going to say.
Segregation or desegregation?
Desegregation. That's what I meant.
Oh yeah, because everybody kind of seemed to like it. The black people that wanted to be in the white neighborhoods, they didn't like it that much, but you had black neighborhoods and they weren't bad.
Well, doesn't that violate your liberty? Because if the American dream is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, shouldn't black people be allowed to live with just black people? If you want to, shouldn't you have the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to just live with who you want to? Because I did talk to, who is that guy that started the whites only enclave in, I believe his name is
Return to the Land?
Yeah. Arvark, what was his name?
Yeah. Arvel.
I talked to him, and he's getting sued by a progressive group. I'm not even going to say who because you'll get banned. But he's getting sued because he just wants to live the American dream and just live by people he is familiar with. Mm-hmm. When we just saw a video, I forget his name, of these Jewish enclaves where they're living with people of their own culture, their own cohesive unit. How come that's not illegal, but he's getting sued when he's just trying to live with his own European brothers and sisters? What is wrong? How come this is outlawed, but that is not? How come the Somalians can live in Minnesota and have this enclave, and that's not considered, oh, racist, this is horrible, how dare you, someone call CNN. But if a white person's like, hey, let's just move out into the country and let's just chill. Oh, now it's CNN, now it's front news. this is someone called Martin Luther King. Let's get a necromancer, bring him back from the dead, and let's start a protest. Like, no, this is bullshit. Okay. We should be able to live with who we want to live with, be around who we want to be around. And you shouldn't have to force us at gunpoint to live with people who don't even want to be around us because you have been pushing propaganda to make them fucking hate us.
Yeah. Yeah, I've spent my entire life being told by the black community that white people are the biggest pieces of shit on earth. I've never been an apologist. I know a lot of them. I've seen them, all through my life. But I 100% agree with my friends Jackson Price and Forrest, the two brothers from Florida, from Frojax. We need to stop this apologism bullshit. Like, we need to stop apologizing because we didn't do anything wrong. In fact, white people are the only people that ever ended slavery. Like, literally the only people. And we lost 600,000 motherfuckers to do it.
Yeah, black people are still doing slavery in Africa to this day.
Yeah.
What did Devontae Wilder say? He said, to this day. To this day, they're still doing slavery, to this day. And it was the white, European, Christian man who stopped slavery, who freed the slaves. But you guys would still want to push this stupid-ass propaganda saying that we're the evil people. No, we freed the fucking slaves, okay? Because we were the majority. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to take away our majority.
Well, they don't ever like to get into that history lesson about the first slave owner in America was a black man, and he owned the most slaves in history. They don't want to talk about, when they talk about the transatlantic slave trade, there was 12 million slaves transported in the transatlantic roughly. Only 3 million went to the U.S. Yeah. Fucking 9 million went to fucking South America. The Mexicans, the Spanish were the biggest slave owners outside of the Arabs.
And what was it, like only 5 to 8% of white people own slaves. So the majority of white people didn't even own slaves because we couldn't even fucking afford them anyways. Yeah. But they want to, paint us all with the same brush and say, you are all guilty with the original sin of slavery. You are all guilty and evil. And that's what I kept hearing in college when I was in my bachelor's degree, master's degree. You're evil because you're white. You're evil because you're white. You're evil because you're white. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, it's just like, fuck you. Like, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. I'm going to quote Candace, fuck you and the little horse you rode in on. Fuck you. I'm done. Like, I'm done apologizing, because it's not racist to say, I want to live with a white woman around my white brothers. Nothing wrong with that. Just like if you are a black man, want to live with your black brothers, go right ahead. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
There's got to be there's no problem. How is that racist?
Well,
because because this is what I want to say. If it is racist, then how come the Jews in I believe it's where is it at?
Lakewood, New Jersey.
Yeah, Lakewood, New Jersey. How come they can get their own enclave, but I'm a European? How come us Europeans can't get our own enclave?
Right.
Why not?
Well,
because if they can and we can't, you know what that's called? That's called privilege. So why do they have Jewish privilege? No, seriously.
No, I get it.
Because if someone can do something that you can't, that's called a privilege. That's what I was taught in college. Mm-hmm. So how come they have this thing called Jewish privilege, but we don't get to do that? How come Arvark, I'm sorry, brother, that I'm forgetting your name, Arvin Arvark, how come he's not able to live with his white European brothers and sisters? How come he's getting sued into oblivion, getting protested, getting hit pieces written on him, in the Wall Street Journal, in the New York Times? How come all these people are shitting on him, but you let the Somalians, the Jews, and everyone else live in their own cul-de-sacs?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck you, you hypocrites. That's all I can say is fuck you and the little horse you rode in on.
Yeah, and that's what's wild is why is it such a problem? You brought up a great point. It's like, we here, as people, normal people, we don't even have to go white people, but we can. We as white people, we hear every other shade of people saying, I just want to live around my people. Mexicans, like, I live in a fucking highly Latino area, and they got their own neighborhoods. I live in right down the street is a lot of blacks, and they got their own area. All these motherfuckers, like every last one of them, right down to the Filipinos and the Spanish and the fucking Mediterraneans, they all say, I want to live around my people. And white people go, I understand. Sweet. That's
go
cool.
right ahead.
Yeah.
Like, do you see us fucking...
Why is it that when white people go, I just want to live around my people, all of a sudden we're shitbags, like we're the fucking scum of the earth, when on the heels, you just said you wanted to live around your people, and I was like, that's fucking awesome, dude, cool, do what you want to do. I understand it, you're more comfortable, you have the same traditions, the same history, the same roots, we totally get it, fucking totally understand, I can totally get it. But then I say I want to live around my people, and you're like, you're a fucking piece of shit.
Well, it's, at the end of the day, is because they know at the end of the day, they're just afraid of, they're just afraid at the end of the day, because if we all live with each other, that this is what I read in the news. They're afraid that if white people get their white consciousness, that they're afraid of another Holocaust is going to happen, or World War II is going to happen again. It's like, why can't we just be proud of who we are? It's not going to be another Holocaust. It's not going to be another, Adolf Hitler, Nazis. It's just us being proud of who we are. If you can be proud of who you are, we should have that right too. You shouldn't have to demonize us and make us hate who we are just because you're afraid of something that happened back in 1945. That's why they're afraid of us waking up and realizing our culture, who we are. We're the Romans, we're the Greeks, we're the warriors, we're the gladiators. We are the people that built nations. We built armies, we conquered. That's who we were. And that's who we still are. But that's why they have to demonize us every fucking day on the news and in the media. And they have to make us hate ourselves. Because if we wake up, they know it's fucking over.
Well, that's the wildest fucking thing about this whole thing. So if for anybody unfamiliar that's watching or listening, there's this thing called white dormancy. And the whole theory behind this in an extremely shortened fucking scenario is we as white people, we get to a point where we want to give while everybody takes. But then at a certain point, we get fucking tired of it. We get backed into a corner and we come out flailing. And that's when everything around us dies. That's when you see holocausts. That's when you see, internment camps. That's when you see all of this shit happening, is when you have pushed us so far, we now feel like there is absolutely no other avenue we can take other than to kill every last one of you motherfuckers. And that's what's wild about this whole scenario we're in modern society, is that you would think they wouldn't want to get there, because that's happened like fucking 12 or 13 or 14 times throughout history.
Or was it 109 countries? Oh, wait.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the other thing they don't want to do. Judea actually did, scripted World War I and World War II. But, that's a whole nother show. But, in today's society, you would think like they would want white people to just be like, share the same liberties as every other culture. Be proud of yourself. Just don't put them down. I'm cool with that. How about that? If I could say, yeah, fucking white pride. I'm fucking super proud of my ancestors and what we've accomplished and this and that and the other thing. That has nothing to do with putting anybody else down. That's just me lifting myself up as everyone else does. We should be there, but instead it's almost like they're trying to push us to the white dormancy that breaking point where they push, and we're eventually just going to come out of the fucking corner, all fours flailing, bullets whizzing, and we're just not going to take any fucking prisoners.
Well, the problem is a lot of these leftists and a lot of these communists, these Bolsheviks, they believe that white people don't have the right to exist anywhere, and that we're not indigenous anywhere. Even in Europe, in all of the West, in America, they say we're not indigenous anywhere. So like even here in America, they say go back to Europe. Well, if you go back to Europe, go back to Britain. What's the number one name in Britain? Fucking Muhammad. A pedophile who married a 6-year-old and slept with her when she was 9 years old. Disgusting. Okay. So we're losing our homelands. We're losing everything that we fought for, that we've loved, our cultures, our society. And people are pretty much just telling us, take it, you colonizer. And I've debated a lot of these leftists, and they say, this is what you white people deserve because of what you've done. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you realize white people aren't the only ones that have done conquest, have done slavery, have done all these things. And it's like, you're right. You're pushing us to a corner where everyone is just going to be like, you know what, fuck you. We are going to just round you up and send you the fuck out of here and say, get the fuck out of our country. If you cannot coexist with us, because I had one of my biggest videos on TikTok before one of my TikToks got banned. I'm on my third TikTok now, which has 1,000 followers, but I almost had 200,000 followers on my main AV report before it was banned. I asked for peace with one of these black communists. I was like, listen, let's just debate. Let's talk. And I can see what your problem is with white people, and we can talk about this. You want to know what he told me? He said, fuck your peace. He said, fuck you. There's nothing to talk about until we get revenge for what you people did to, for what your people did to our people. And for when this regime, he was talking about President Trump, JD Vance, when all of them are in fucking body bags. So he was pretty much saying there's no room for peace talk until all you motherfuckers are dead.
There's a lot of them that say that.
So how am I supposed to respond to that when I'm trying to be cordial, when I'm trying to talk and to be like, I'm trying to hear their point of view? It's like, okay, you think I'm so evil? Why?
Yeah.
Like, because I want to hear their point of view. I want to hear it because I hear it from the colleges. I hear it from the media, the TV shows, the movies, all this. But then when I actually try to debate these people, it always just switches to them just wanting to get fucking violent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like, it's either, we got one of two choices here. You can either forget the past, coexist, or we can't coexist, and one of us has got to get the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, and that comes down to, like, I again, I always say the only way this shit's going to work is if we all agree to move forward without fucking apologies. Because the way, as far as I'm concerned, from let's say 1970, because I believe DSEG happened in 1964 area. Let's go 1970, because that was really the formation of the black street gangs, the beginning of that. And I believe that white people are entitled to a lot of fucking reparations for the fucking problems that the black community has caused in our communities. Now, if we go pre-1970, I believe that the black community has a leg to stand on. You've got some fucking, you've got well enough ground to gripe on the way you were treated by white people. Asians fit into the fucking mix too. Like, everybody wants to say black people fucking built America. No, if anybody built America besides white people, it was the fucking Chinese, because they're the ones that put the fucking railroad in. So
right.
let's not start splitting hairs here. Let's all just agree. Some fucking really nasty shit has happened over the course of mankind, but now we're in this place where we have all this information. We're supposedly enlightened. We're supposedly awakened. We're supposedly elevated to a level of understanding that we have never as a society been to before. Let's decide that we're not going to need apologies. I don't need an apology from the black community because I can't go into that neighborhood without getting shot. And they don't need an apology from me because 200 fucking years ago, some distant fucking relative that I've never met, never heard of, owned a slave. Like, that's the only way this shit's gonna work.
Well, if they want an apology from us, then how come they're not apologizing for their African slave trader who sold them to the people, to the Europeans or to whoever?
Easy with all that truth.
If you go far enough back, you can always find a sin of a father, a sin of a grandfather. So you can always find something to apologize for. But guess what? This is 2026. We're done fucking apologizing. All right? We're fucking done.
Well, and the other thing is I've noticed that we have a tendency as a people, and this is especially done on the left, every fucking degree of the left. They always want to hold people 150, 250 years ago to the standard of today. And they want to get them, like, no, these people were doing everything completely legitimate within their culture back then. It's the same thing when I was growing up. My parents, I'm 43 years old. I don't know how old you are. I'm 43 years old. My parents were the last generation. 34. Okay, so about 9 years. My parents were the last generation of people that smoked cigarettes that never knew it was bad. Like, they grew up and that's just what you did. You turned fucking 16, 17, you started smoking cigarettes, and that's how you lived your life. They fucking bought me cigarettes when I was 13. They started buying me cartons of smokes. It's just what you did. They didn't have the information, but now we have the information. So it's like, if you choose to do this, this is a 100% conscious choice. Like, if I choose to try to own a slave, That's a 100% conscious choice on my part, not a cultural decision that has been made for me. It's a conscious decision that I made to do that.
Well, back then it was quote unquote normalized. And do you notice how they only try to hold people accountable back then that were white? But how come they never try to hold people accountable like, I don't know, the quote unquote Prophet Muhammad, who fucking married a 6-year-old? How come they never want to talk to the Muslims about that? Hey, leftists, hey, communists, hey, Bolsheviks, how come you fucks, you always want to talk about George Washington or Andrew Jackson? How come you never want to talk about the pedophile Muhammad who married a fucking 6-year-old? How come you never want to talk about him? Maybe because you're too fucking afraid, or maybe, just maybe because he's not white. We know it. We all know it.
Well, and here's the other thing is when it comes to the Muslims, like everybody knows my stance. Fuck that whole religion, every sect of it, every section of it, every piece of it, everybody that believes in it. Fuck every last one of you motherfuckers. That is a trash pile of cancer that is taking over this world. But here's my big thing, is it why we don't talk about certain things about it. It's because the Jews need the Muslims, because as we've seen throughout history, they have to create their opposition. And this is why I'm not a subscriber to the Abrahamic religions. I was a Jesus guy for a long time, but it's something I can't get into anymore because of that. It feels like the Jews needed opposition in order to take over, because you can't just tell everybody you're oppressed and play the victim card and then take over the fucking country if there's nothing that's oppressing you. So they create this piece of shit called Islam to be their opposition, and then they overcorrect, and then next thing you know, here comes Jesus Christ walking into the fucking scene. So you've got the Jews who believe that everybody's born to be their slaves. If you're not born to a Jewish mother, you are born to be their fucking slaves. You are cattle. Well, then you've got Islam, who believes everybody should fucking submit or die. And then you've got Christianity, which apparently believes that everybody should just stab them in the neck, fuck them in the ass, and you should smile about it the whole time.
Well, I'm a Christian, and what did Jesus do in the temple to all the Pharisees? He threw over the table and he started hitting them with the whip, because they were doing horrible stuff in that temple. They were gambling. They were doing a whole bunch of sin. So I understand where you're coming from, because I was an atheist for a while. And I do believe in Jesus Christ. And we can debate about that if you would like.
Oh, I don't need to debate it. I'm all for people believing in Jesus. If you're going to be an Islam, if you want Islam, or you're a Muslim, or you're a fucking Jew, like there's not much to talk about. Jesus I still respect, because it provides a moral boundary. It provides a moral compass for the followers. So I have no problem with that.
Jesus is the rejection of Judaism, because Judaism is the old covenant. Jesus in Christianity is the new covenant. We don't believe in because don't they believe in sacrificing the 2 red heifers to? Yeah. This is why I do not agree with Zionists, like people like Marco Rubio and all
Cruz.
them. Ted Cruz. Yeah, he's a fucking piece of shit. I don't know why my monitor keeps turning off. It's so fucking annoying.
I'm surprised my camera feed is still going, because once a show, every fucking show, my camera feed cuts for a second.
But this is why I don't agree with Zionists, because they're all accelerationists, and they're trying to help the Jews as much as they can to get the red heifers, to help them with the Greater Israel Project, and to erect the 3rd temple so they can sacrifice the 2 red heifers so they can bring forth their Messiah, which is the Antichrist. And I don't believe that you could work with people who want to bring forth the Antichrist, which is the embodiment of Satan, in my belief, which is Satan incarnate. So
yeah, I'm a Norse pagan, so I believe in a pantheon of gods. I believe in seeking wisdom, justice, truth, prosperity, and basically, just leave me the fuck alone. Let me worship my gods. Let me honor my fucking ancestors. Let me honor my traditions, and let me grow my people. That's where I'm at, and that's why I like that. And but that's also not to say that I find zero worth in Jesus. It's maybe what it is for me is it's first and foremost, I have a hard time kneeling before a Jewish God, right? And I understand there will be an argument. Not Jewish. Yeah, that's what everybody says, but he's a Jewish carpenter. So
no, he was a Nazarene.
Well, yeah, but now we get into that, and that's another thing that turns me off of it, is because I grew up for 43 years seeing my boss is a Jewish carpenter, but now he's not Jew. Now he's a Nazarene. Now he's this. Now he's always something else that explains something away.
Well, because the CIA has been running a psyop with a whole bunch of Zionists to push this pro-Zionist propaganda. How do you think we got the war in the Middle East? Because of Zionist propaganda to help them with the greater Israel project. Because what do you think the past wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, do you think
clean break strategy?
Do you think any of that has benefited America? No, it has only benefited one parasitic country, and that is Israel.
Yeah. And I totally get that. And it's just, for me, I guess it's an abundance of clarity when I'm talking about the pantheon of gods in the Norse complex. It's just clarity, and when I talk about Jesus, and I'm about to have a really good friend of mine on, Scott Sieverts, who is practically a fucking, a master of everything scripture. So it's going to be a really great conversation, but it's so confusing to me just because it's like, everybody's got their different ideals, and it's the other thing is too, it's the fan club. Like, I'm not really a sports dude, but I like baseball and I like hockey, right? So I'm a White Sox fan. In Chicago, that's a no-no. You're supposed to be a Cubs fan, not for any fucking particular reason other than you're just supposed to be. But there's this, it's the fan club. They take it so far, and it's always, like I said, there's always an explanation. There's always a change. There's always a difference. And there's always cherry picking. And that's my biggest problem is all of the Christians that I know, with the exception of maybe 10, they all explain away something in their life that goes against what we all know goes against the Bible. They explain it away like, well, God created me this way, so he accepts me this way. But that's not what's in the book. You know what I mean? Like,
Like what way are you talking?
Well, I would say let's take the homosexuality thing, the gay thing. I've got a lot of gay friends, and every last one of them is a Christian. And I ask them, I'm like, okay, but how is this? Doesn't it say somewhere in the Bible you're not supposed to marry a man or some shit like that? And they just explain it away, And I'm like, you realize, like, the Norse pantheon of gods, they didn't give a shit if you were gay. They just gave a shit if you honored your people and your ancestors. Why don't you go over there? And it just feels like a lot of the Christianity thing is something that people do because they feel like they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And I'm fully on board with America is a Christian country. Again, I'm not attacking Christians. I'm not attacking, I'm only saying, calling balls and strikes. I'm only saying what I see. And I see a lot of fucking hypocrisy in the followers of Christ. They'll step over a homeless person as they're walking into church. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's at the end of the day, it's because Christianity has been zio-cucked, unfortunately. We've been too submissive. We haven't been, quote unquote, standing on business. And at the end of the day, the Bible says if a man lies with another man, that is a sin. But the Bible also says, let he who cast the first stone, or let he without sin cast the first stone. So if someone is gay, I'm not going to judge them, because at the end of the day, Jesus is going to be the one judging them. And I believe that the sanctity of marriage should be with a man and a woman. I'm pro life. I'm not for gay marriage. I'm not for these things because that's what my religion calls me to do. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to hate someone because they're a homosexual. I just disagree with their lifestyle. I don't hate them because they're gay. I just disagree with their sin. I believe it's sinful. I would rather them be with a woman. I would rather them have a wife and kids, because what is being a homosexual? It's you just killing off your family tree. It's you ending your bloodline. Thousands of years just for you to commit sodomy? It's pointless. You could have a loving wife, an amazing kid. Why throw that away for lust? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, like I'll stand up on this one because I've got some really close gay friends. Obviously, I'm not fucking gay. I got a wife. I got kids. I got all that shit. But it's one of those things like I truly don't believe it's a choice. I've known a lot of gay dudes in my life, as we all have, and it's not like they woke up one day and they're just like, I'm tired of women. Women do that shit all the fucking time, though. Women will wake up on a fucking Wednesday being happily married to a man and go, I think I'm into women now. Men just don't do that. If you're fucking gay, that you were built that way, you know. But go ahead.
Attraction may not be a choice, but you know what is? Action. So would you give this same argument for a fucking pedophile? Like if he's attracted to kids, but then if he were to act on it, what would you do for that?
Well, here's the thing.
His fucking head, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's one right and there's one wrong. We've collectively as humanity, all of it, we've drawn the line at kids. You don't fuck kids. You don't hurt kids. You don't traumatize kids. You don't abuse children. That's wrong. But what's not necessarily wrong in my book is for two consenting men, if they fall in love with each other and they're attracted to each other, whatever the fuck they do in the privacy of their own home is their own home. But I want to bring this because this is a good example of why I have a problem with Christianity. I've got a fucking gay couple over here and I've got a heterosexual couple over here that completely disagree with each other, but they're both devout Christians. I don't understand it. I just,
Well, that's the glory of Jesus Christ, because at the end of the day, the Bible says every knee will bow and Jesus Christ will be the final judge. So I can't judge them, even though I disagree with it. Listen, if your friends want to be gay or they want to be gay or she wants to be a lesbian, I don't care. Go do it. Do I agree with it? No. Do I think it's sinful? Yes. But at the end of the day, Jesus, in my belief, in my heart, he is going to be the judge. So if he says at the end of the day, other than you being a homosexual, you did good, you accepted me as your Lord and Savior, you did these good works, you helped these people out, you did all these other good things, so you're going to heaven, then go right ahead. But that's the beauty of Christianity, because we all fall short of the glory of God. So you may not be a homosexual, but you may be an alcoholic. You may not be an alcoholic, but you may be a drug addict. You may not be a drug addict, but you may be a fucking gambling addict. We all have our faults. So I'm not hating on the gay community. I'm not hating on alcoholics. I'm not hating on gamblers. I'm just saying we all have sin and we can choose to act on it, because I'll tell you something about me. I used to have a bad alcohol problem. I used to drink all the time. But one day I accepted Jesus Christ and I said, no more. I'm not going to drink anymore. And every now and then I'll be walking in the grocery store and I'll look over and I'll remember the time that, I'd be in the bar and I'd be drinking. I'm like, man, that sounds nice right about now. Or be like, man, it sounds great to just maybe watch a football game and drink, or have a steak and have a beer. But I make the choice to not take part in that action. So all I'm saying with the homosexuality, you're right. You can't choose who you're attracted to, but you can choose to act on it. Like if I'm walking in the mall and I see a very attractive woman with a fat ass, I can't help but be attracted to that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like we can't help it. We're guys. You know what I mean? We just can't help it. But you can, but if you're married, you can choose to go up to her and ask her a number. You can choose to cheat on your wife and say, you know what?
Right.
I'm gonna go up and talk to this girl and be like, man, she got a fat ass. Let me try to talk to her real quick. You know what I'm saying? yo, what's up, girl? How you doing, man? You look good in them jeans. You know what I'm saying? For real. So you have that choice to be an adulterer. You have that choice to ask for her number, or you have that choice to say, you know what? I lusted, but I'm gonna keep walking. That's all I'm saying. That's the differentiation.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate, because I've had this conversation or facsimile, reasonable facsimile of it before, and I can totally get that you're not actually hating the gay community. You can disagree with them. That's fucking fine. You can not like the lifestyle. That's fine. But you're man enough to understand that I can disagree with this, converse about it, and we can still walk away with our own beliefs, and get your point across. And I think that's super fucking respectable, because especially when it comes to, the gay community, that's a hot button topic for several individuals that I've talked to. Like, very hot button topic. Like, I'm not even getting into fucking faggots and this and that and fucking blah blah blah.
Well, people who don't understand that nuance, I just believe, are just low IQ. And sometimes the Jews, when they call him a low IQ anti-Semite or a goyim, sometimes they make sense because it's like, if you really can't understand, like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, you cannot choose who you had a crush on in high school. You cannot choose if you're walking in the mall and you see an attractive woman, you're like, damn, she's hot. But you do have the choice of asking her out. You do have the choice of cheating on your wife. It's a choice. There's always that choice in your life.
Right. Now, where do we get, like, if we carry that off, right? We carry that into other things. Like, like I said, I was a racist, a member of a racist organization. So one of the things that we hated the most was interracial relationships. To me, that's, and we would always get when I would have debate, I was always a debater. I always like to fight with the pen, not the sword, because you don't change minds by spray painting swastikas on garbage cans. You change minds by having a conversation about statistical fact and history and all this other stuff. So when it comes down to that, like interracial relationships, that's a choice. And, people would always tell me, like, you can't help who you're attracted to. This is who I'm attracted to. This is the way I'm wired. This is the way I'm built. So you're telling me, and I would tell them, well, you shouldn't be dating a black dude. You shouldn't be dating a fucking black chick. Well, so I'm just supposed to go on through my life unhappily going against my own wiring because you agree with something or disagree with something. My question is where do we draw that line? Because everybody has their own view, because the Bible is so vague and so open to interpretation.
The Bible says not to mix tribes. And if you want your kids to look like you, I mean, it would make sense to sleep with someone who shares maybe your same complexion, your same culture. I would say at the end of the day, you're asking my opinion on interracial marriage, or interracial relationships. At the end of the day, I don't give a shit, but I would promote same race relations, especially among Europeans, white people, because the white race was 30% back in 1945, and now we're down to 8% because of the propaganda and all the hate that we receive. And white people as a whole are just pretty much looked at as like weak, and like we're shown in like TV shows like the fat funny guy or like a loser. But then you have like the black guy who's like the hip hop cool NFL guy, and they're making the white woman lust after that, and that's why our population is going down. So what I would say is again, if a white woman wants to date a black guy, would I encourage that? No. At the end of the day, if she wants to, go right ahead, knock yourself out. I don't give a fuck. But if I was in charge of propaganda, I would just promote, like, do you want your kids to look like you? Do you want to have a family of shared culture? Do you want to have a cohesive unit? I would promote same race relations, because at the end of the day, the only time when people have a problem with same race relations is when it comes to white people. When you go to these Jewish enclaves, do you think anyone has a problem with Jews only saying, I'm only going to date another Jew? You think anyone has a problem with that? Do you think when people go to Saudi Arabia, do you think anyone has a problem with Muslims only dating other Muslims? You think anyone has a problem with Nigerians saying they're only going to date Nigerians? You think anyone has a problem with any of that? The only time anyone has a problem is when a European says, I only like fat ass white girls. You know what I'm saying? I only want a white girl who looks like she's from Agartha. You know what I'm saying? So who looks like she drinks a white Monster. You know what I mean? But yeah. So it's only I've started to realize this. It's only a problem. I don't know why this is so blurry. It's pissing me off. It's only a problem when white people do it. And that's what I'm starting to realize. And it's getting old because you see it all the time. I see it on the TV shows. What is it? Everybody Hates Chris. You see when the black sister or the black daughter brings the white, the boyfriend home. What's the black dad say? You bring a cracker into this house? You bring a white boy into this house? And that's socially acceptable. Everyone's like, that's funny. I can't believe she brought a cracker into this house, man. This is funny. Yeah. But if you were to switch that, and all of a sudden everyone's butt would get puckered, everyone would be like, "Oh snap!"
Yeah,
this is.
Well, we got to stop watching this show.
Yeah, because oh my goodness, that racist father said, "I can't believe you brought a black guy into this home because I want my grandkid to look like me. I don't want him to, you know what I mean?" Mm-hmm. So I'm just sick and tired of the double standards. It's either, and this is my quote in life. It's either all okay or none of it's okay. So if you say it's not okay for me to promote white on white relationships, then the Jews, they shouldn't be able to promote Jews only relationships, even though it's in their Torah and their Talmud that you need to be born of a Jewish woman to be even considered Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah. Matriarchal.
Yeah, so what the fuck is that? So if I'm considered racist for that, then what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So if I'm considered racist, what the fuck is that? They have a whole book on that shit.
Yeah. And that's common practice among every culture out there. Like Indians, not the dots, not the feathers. They're all about you only fucking marry Indian. Japanese are the same way. If you're a Japanese dude, which I know 2 of them that married white women, they were fucking excommunicated from their families. Like they take it very seriously. But now on this topic, let's migrate to this point. When do we reach a point where white people take accountability, take responsibility for not continuing our own culture? When do we white people take accountability and responsibility for our white women wanting to not have kids anymore and be this boss bitch? I want to be this boss bitch. I want to run shit. I don't want to have kids. Let somebody else have kids. When do we take accountability for that and make these motherfuckers start having kids, or fucking stop giving them jobs to make them fucking, put them back into their genetic role, we'll say? Like, when do we do this? Because I see a lot of fucking white people always blaming everything else except white people for not breeding. So,
well, because again, for so long, we haven't considered ourselves a cohesive unit. We have to white people have to realize what the fuck happened. What the fuck has happened since the 1960s? We've been psyoped and we lost the propaganda war. That is what happened to us. Ever since pretty much the 1940s, we've lost the propaganda war. We've lost our identity. We've lost our culture. We've lost our women. We've lost our feminism, psyop from the CIA. They wanted to take our women, put them in the workforce to double the workforce. And then so we would have to send our kids to their public indoctrination camps so they could learn their Fed slop, their CIA slop, instead of being at home in the family unit to where so they could pretty much learn what we want them to learn. This was all crafted, all curated by the CIA. And so we have to let white people know what the fuck happened. Because if we come at them and be like, well, you're fucking stupid, how'd you let this happen? We have to first let them know this is what has been happening since the 1940s. This is why they don't want you to have a cohesive unit. This is why they started feminism. This is why they started the rock and roll movement, because they wanted your women to get out of the house. They wanted you to start getting on drugs. They wanted to push gambling and degeneracy on the family to break you guys apart. They wanted to push movies and TV shows and all these different things to fuck up the family unit, because once you destroy a culture, once you destroy a family unit, you destroy a society. And that's what they did. They've destroyed America. And the only way we take it back is to let everyone know what these pieces of shit have done. And once everyone has awoken and realized what these fucks have done, then we can make it right. But until then, we're going to keep being psyoped, because all this feminist boss babe bullshit is a psyop. That's all it is. It's like, you think you're strong and empowered. It's like, no. You're like, I'm not working for no man. I'm not. Yeah, you are. You're just working for a CEO. You're just working for some Jewish billionaire on OnlyFans.
You're a tax slave, motherfucker.
You're not a slave for your husband anymore. You're a slave for some billionaire. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
Like, well, I think it all comes down to control. So, and this is what I say about the immigration thing too. So, throughout history, white people have just been on top. We were the creators of nations. We can even look at it at modern day society. When you look at white countries, when you look at white communities, they are civilized. They're built, and this isn't to say the Asian communities aren't, because in many cases Asian communities are technologically more advanced. But when it comes to the core of it, when you go to white places, they're nice places. They're clean, they're well kept, they're organized. When you go to black places, they're shitholes. They're just ghettos. And when we look at Africa, which all the black people, the entire black community says, they're so proud to be from Africa. When we look at Africa, it's nothing but war-torn hellholes and people living in mud huts eating boiled monkeys. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? This is 2026. You're telling me how advanced I'm not and how advanced you are, yet we can just visually see the differences in our cultures. And when we don't have white people affecting the black culture, it's mud huts. It's string bean cattle in the middle of the fucking desert,
I can already hear the arguments now. They're just going to say, "Oh, it's because you stole all of our shit and you colonized us."
Yeah. Well, I hear that all the time. You stole all of our inventions. Why couldn't you invent it again then? Why couldn't you create something better then?
Yeah, we was kings and shit. That's all I hear.
So let's start wrapping this up. Do you see realistically, do you see a pathway or an avenue here in America? We won't concentrate on anywhere else, but here in America, do you see a pathway for this country to swing back around? Do you see a pathway for this country to come back and reclaim its glory that it once had?
The only true pathway, I believe, is America first. And that's what that is we have to push a cohesive unit, a culture. We have to push a culture again. You're going to speak English. You are going to respect the law. We are going to have honor in our society. We're not, because if you walk through places like Chicago, New York, there's trash everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's people gang banging, sagging, acting like fucking degenerates. We need to be a respectable country again. And to do this, it's not only do we need a propaganda front to be like, listen, we need to remember who we are. We are America, the greatest nation that has ever existed. We need to have clean cities. We need to have safe cities. And we shouldn't be afraid to be called racist. If a motherfucker is committing a crime, you arrest the motherfucker. Mm-hmm. If someone is doing something bad, arrest them. We shouldn't be glorifying felons like George Floyd. We shouldn't be, we pretty much just need to get rid of the whole Democratic side. We need to deport people like Ilhan Omar. And we need to make English the main language, the only language. You have to be able to speak it. We have to deport every single illegal, if it's 60 million, 70 million, I don't care. And if people want to cry about that, they can leave too. We just, at the end of the day, we need the pathway back to glory, the pathway back to making America truly great. Because what did Donald Trump say? He says, I want to make America great again, but he's being a Zio cuck and he's shilling for Israel, pulling out the chair for Benjamin Netanyahu, who's a war criminal. To make America great again, we have to do things in the interest for America, not for Israel, not for anyone else, not for Somalis, not for Jews, not for whoever, but for Americans. Mm-hmm. And to do that, we have to clean up our cities. We have to go into gang-ridden places like with the National Guard, with the Marines, clean up all those fucking places, make it nice again. Tell everyone we're going to get trans propaganda the fuck out of here because we're a respectable country. We're gonna get Satanism worship. We're gonna take down all your statues of Baal and Baphomet. We're gonna tear down all that shit. All the people on the Epstein files. You're going to fucking prison. Better yet, we're gonna put you under the fucking prison because if you hurt children, John Podesta, you motherfucker, we're coming for you. We're coming. We all know Jeffrey Epstein ain't dead. We're coming for that motherfucker. He's hiding in Tel Aviv somewhere. At the end of the day, to truly make America great, we have to stop the infection of the pedophile elites that are controlling and puppeteering our politicians. We have to destroy that. We have to clean up our cities. We have to push pro-family propaganda because there's been so much anti-family propaganda like feminism and gay propaganda and transgenderism and gender ideology trying to confuse our kids. Like, oh, you're born in the wrong body. Take these hormones and chop off your penis. It's going to be great. It's like, no, that's fucking evil, satanic. Yeah. Get that shit out of here. So to truly get this shit done, It's a lot. And a lot of people are going to be upset. A lot of people are going to cry. But let these fat, stupid, rainbow-haired, woke pieces of shit be upset. And if they're so sad, so upset, you can send them back to wherever you're sending the other illegals. Because guess what? All these celebrities who are crying about the illegals that we're sending out of here live in fucking gated communities, walk around with security guards, walk around with a whole bunch of people protecting them with guns when we're out here having to deal with this bullshit. Mm-hmm. So to make America great again, we have to put America and Americans first. And that's what we need to do. And if we don't do that, America will cease to exist.
I like it. I think we're going to end it on that note. You got the last word, brother. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at the AVreport, because I'm always victorious, because I got Jesus on my side.
I love it. I'm definitely going to have you back on the show. I'd like to get you on a show with my co-host on here, because I think he'd have some really cool conversations with you too. Thank you for being on the fucking show, brother. I look forward to our relationship moving into the future, hanging out, doing all this other shit. Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Savagely Loud. That's where I'm most active. And on that page, you're going to find 2 links. One of those links is to the Savagely Loud podcast page. Please follow me there. It really does help out. And plus, that's going to be my backup page. Inevitably, the other link you're going to find is a simple link tree. Anywhere you want to hear my bullshit, see my rants, you can find it there. Easy peasy. Outside of that, Facebook, X, and Rumble at Savagely Loud. YouTube at Savagely Loud Podcast. Please do not forget to subscribe. And you can email me in at savagelyloud@gmail.com. Like, comment, and share the material. And please, for the love of all the things that you love, rate and review the show for me. Give me a 5-star. Give me a good one. You know, if you hate the show, of course, be honest, but you're not going to hate the show, because if you made it this far in, you don't hate the fucking show. So come on, do me a solid, do my co-host a solid, do my guests a solid, give a 5-star rating. All that being said, you know what time it is. We got all the way down in it today, brother. So we're not going to let all of our listeners run away all amped up and ramped up, getting ready to hit somebody in the face. So let's remind everybody that humanity still exists within humans with a little segment I like to call Hopelessly Human. Starts a little bit like...
People can be rough. They can be quite tough. They can get in the way, but at the end of the day, some aren't only stupid, some are hopelessly human.
Oh, yes, they are hopelessly human. Catchy shit, ain't it? I mean, it's pretty. I think everybody dances to that.
Made me want to start dancing, getting a line.
Today's Hopelessly Human, as soon as I pull it up here, because I'm failing miserably. Today's Hopelessly Human is brought to you by realitypathing.com, and it's titled The Note in the Hospital Room. In a bustling city hospital, a nurse named Sarah made it her mission to ensure every patient felt cared for during their stay. One day, she noticed an elderly man who seemed particularly lonely and anxious about his surgery. While he was prepped for his operation, Sarah decided to leave him a note on his bedside table. The note read, "You are not alone. We are all rooting for you." After the surgery, as he came to consciousness, he spotted the note and felt a wave of comfort wash over him. That small moment of connection lifted his spirits tremendously during a time when he felt vulnerable and scared. It reminded him that compassion could be found in the most unexpected places. That's Hopelessly Human. That's the show. Later, guys.
Later.